If you need some time off or for me to refer you to Ock Health for some counselling.
I'm fine. Thanks, Mum. Thank you, Mum. That's right, Mum. Very good, Mum. Thank you, Mum. Mum. Pleasure to meet you, Mum. Can't say for certain, Mum. Mum. Yes, Mum. Yes, Mum. Thank you, Mum. As you wish, Mum. Mum. Have a good evening, Mum. Mum, you have to tuck under your jacket, Mum. Pardon me, Mum. Mum. No, Mum. Sorry, Mum.
All right, we're at 25. Keep it going, but tell me how far into the video we are.
Oh, come on, Mum. Mum.
Oh my God, we're only at 30. We're at 31.
Mum. It's okay, Mum.
40.
It's okay, Mum.
It's too many mums. Start the show.
Welcome to Cordkillers, the show about watching the stuff you love when you want, where you want, however you want. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey, you're welcome, Mum. It's me, Brian Brushwood. And that was 40 of the mums from The Bodyguard. Where did you find that gem, Bryce?
Netflix made that.
Did they really?
They're making like a lot of those digital features like that.
Oh, that's wonderful.
They just posted one today that was all the happy birthday babies from Russian Doll.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so Netflix on YouTube.
The only thing I could think of that would be better than that is our fantabulous guest, Nicole Lee of Engadget.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
I mean, you're too kind, but thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you, Mom.
You beat me to it. All right, Tom, what's our top story?
Let's get right into the primary target. Okay. I think we have a few stories here that tell a story about where cord cutting and just television as an industry might be going. Starting with our good friends, MoffettNathanson Research. We've been talking about them for years as they track the number of pay TV subscribers through traditional cable and satellite versus the number who are paying through internet-only services. And it will not surprise you that U.S. pay TV subscribers dropped by 985,000 in Q4. That's down 4.1% over 2017, and that's the highest rate of decline in at least the last 8 years since MoffettNathanson's been doing these reports. Of note, multi-channel internet TV packages rose, but only rose 740,000 in Q4 2018, and they rose 900,000 in Q4 2017. So slowing of the internet-only packages like your Sling TVs and YouTube TVs, but also not making up for the difference. So if you weren't paying attention, 985,000 people dropped off of traditional pay TV, 740,000 paid for internet TV packages. So there's a different situation going around for a couple 100,000 people there. Okay. As an example, Sling TV finished 2018 with 2.42 million subs. That's first place among the internet TV packages, right ahead of DirecTV Now, which has 1.6 million. YouTube TV and Hulu Live are kind of right behind them, around 1 million each. However, Sling TV's owner Dish Satellite lost 1.125 million subscribers and only added 205,000 Sling TV subscribers. So Dish in microcosm is experiencing this. They're losing their satellite TV people. They're gaining their internet people, but not enough to make up for it. However, it's not all bad news if you're operating an online TV service, if you're not operating an internet TV replacement service. In other words, if you're not doing a multi-channel service, CBS All Access and Showtime, which CBS reports together, have about 8 million streaming subscribers now, and CBS says it's about 50-50 between these two platforms, about 4 million for All Access, 4 million for Showtime, give or take. That is up 60% from last year, and they've hit their CBS All Access number 2 years ahead of schedule. So CBS now has a new goal. They expect Showtime and All Access to combine for 25 million subscribers by 2022, and CBS is now throwing around the idea of taking shows like season 1 of The Good Fight and airing them on the broadcast network as a way to drive subscribers from the free broadcast network to the pay All Access. So to recap, people leaving pay TV, not necessarily going to a replacement service on the internet, but definitely lots of people paying for these individual packages like CBS All Access.
I feel like there's like 3 different ways we could have covered this story. One is the victory lap, which is weirdly getting less and less interesting to me. More people than ever are cutting the cord. It's like, exactly. eight years ago, we would have been high-fiving over this, but now it's like that scene in Fight Club where it's like you're not seeing what's happening, but you're just hearing the wet squish of fists on meat, and you're like, okay, yeah, no, we get it. The cord, they're definitely dead, right? The other version of this, we could say, we have a real problem on our hands, which is as people are exodusing from the buffet of cable television, they are not coming, as we promised, to all the individual boutique restaurants for all of these streaming services. They're taking their time in between. Now, truthfully, I think that there's a bit of a celebratory period when you give up that big fat bill. You just want to take some time. And as we've talked about, my advice is quit everything. And the moment you want something, buy it. And then once that becomes a problem, consider a service instead of buying it. So it could be that we're seeing a natural lag in that in between. But then you see that story of the CBS that feels like it's somewhere, it's just right, right? It's not too dark, not too bright. It's just right. And it makes me feel like what we're seeing is we don't want the bloated super buffets that cable was giving us. We don't want the complete balkanization of us signing up for 18 different services. But if you offer an island, a little niche, something that's just right with enough to feed the back catalog and 2 or 3 of your favorite things, I feel like how much is CBS? Like $10 a month?
It's like $6 if you want commercial, if you're okay with commercials. It's $10 if you want the commercial free.
Yeah, I feel like this is a Goldilocks story where if you're just going to hit us, you don't have to have everything. You don't have to be just one thing, but if you can give me just enough to feel good right now for joining your clubhouse, I can handle 4, 5, 6 of these $6 to $10 a month services and still feel like I'm coming out ahead over cable. Nicole, does any of that ring true with you?
Yeah, I was just about to say that I think there is definitely a group of people that probably feels that those multi-channel packages are maybe a little bit too close to a traditional cable satellite TV subscription. Like, I canceled this for a reason. Maybe they don't want to have the same thing, but just like in a different format or something. Maybe there's the idea of the fact that CBS All Access had this tremendous success tells you that there is still this a desire for a quote unquote a la carte style service where you pick and choose what you want, right? I mean, it's still not perfect just because you don't get everything, but maybe you don't want everything. Maybe you just want maybe you only want to subscribe to YouTube TV only for the Olympics and then cancel it afterwards, like that kind of thing.
I got to be honest, what you're saying rings true for me because I love my experience on PlayStation Vue, but if I'm going to be perfectly honest, I really only have PlayStation Vue for AMC. It's like when Better Call Saul's on, I got to watch it. Maybe I'll get into The Walking Dead for 20 minutes again, and certainly I'll be there for Preacher. But outside of that, I mean, if AMC doesn't offer its own standalone thing, does it, Tom?
No. Well, what they have right now is you can pay if you're already a cable subscriber. You can pay extra to get commercial free on their app. But I feel like that's a Trojan horse to them eventually once they feel like they won't anger the Comcast gods too much, providing some sort of service that will be internet only that you can pay for on its own. I fully expect that's what Disney has in mind for FX, which has a similar system to AMC right now. But they're saying we're going to put a bunch of FX stuff on Hulu. So Hulu will essentially become that for FX. I imagine AMC might do something like that. Where my head's at with this is, if I had to guess right now, it seems to me that the one thing that people want out of these multi-channel packages on the internet is live. They're like, I want to be able to see my sports or my news or the things that, aren't on demand. And everything else is on demand. CBS All Access, Showtime, Netflix. They're like, I don't need that. So people are like, I don't care about news and sports, aren't replacing cable. They're like, I just want to watch shows. I'll get shows. I can have over the air to give me some of the live stuff, but it's just not that important. So there's probably, this is where I'm going with this, there's probably a new format, a new package, or even a modified version of existing packages that says we'll give you live TV. If you want to just be on Netflix, Showtime, HBO for all the rest of your programming, we'll give you live sports, live news in a affordable package. I think that's coming down the road. Somebody's going to start figuring that out. Maybe it's Sling TV, maybe somebody else. But the ability to say, like, we know what you're missing from going a la carte is this. So we'll be the competitively priced package alongside those other apps so that you can choose to subscribe to those or not based on what they offer for on-demand shows, and will be your live streaming package for everything else.
I think it's worth pointing out that there is already some version of this. I think Facebook and Twitter and Amazon, to an extent, do live broadcasts of like some sports shows and some news broadcasts. So there is already a little bit of experimentation in this area, but that could be like even more so into that.
Well, yeah, and
realm.
right now you can buy Sling TV, Hulu, PlayStation View, and you're basically getting what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
but you're also getting a bunch of other things.
All the other stuff.
Right? It's like we're going from pay TV, which is like way too many things. I don't want to pay for all these things, to these slimmer bundles, but you're still paying for a lot of things. I think there's going to be another downgrade from that coming.
All right, look, I'd hate to do this, but you know what you just caused me to do? I just unsubscribed. I just canceled my subscription to PlayStation View because I just I'll go back when there's a reason to go back, but you just talked me out of it, so I just canceled it. And
I'm very. This is a great experiment. I love this. Like, will there be a point where you're like, oh, I want to watch this live thing. And you know, Brian's not a representative sample of the entire population of the United States. I get that. But will there be a point where Brian's like, ooh, I wish I had access to this live thing? And on top of that, when you get to that point, if you get to that point, will it be PlayStation View, or will you go, oh, but this other thing has it and it's cheaper, right?
All right, time out. In the chat, Bryce just typed, dang it, I was using that.
Look, there is some stuff you can see on the PlayStation View that I can't.
Obviously, he meant the something in the room. Brian was
well, and that is literally the case. I don't know if you know this, but Bryce spends a lot of time here in the studio, and he's watching my stuff on there. But again, as per my rule, the moment I want something, I'll go back to it. It's just. And to their credit, they made it very easy for me to unsubscribe just now. And although I didn't like that I had to click buttons on a feedback survey to, like, they grayed out cancel for real until I said, and then the weird part was like, how likely are you to recommend? I could honestly say 9 or a 10. You guys are great. Now get off my billing cycle.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. That I mean, isn't it funny? Like, compared to what you used to have to go through, even that little feedback survey is nothing, but you get so used to it. You're like, oh, I don't have to fill out these questions. That's annoying.
Yeah. And again, I have nothing against. I really, really, really enjoy it. It's just I realize that my kids aren't watching it. I'm not watching it, and it's just not the right season for me to be paying for it. So I'm not paying for it.
Well, and that's what this is for, right? Is and when I say this, I mean that's what cord cutting is about. Is control. It's the ability to do that. What Brian just did, which you could not do under the old model. I mean, not without a lot of pain and agony and cost. You know, fees and sign up.
Do you remember the 40-minute conversations it used to take to get off of these?
Apparently that's better now. A good friend of mine just canceled Comcast and was shocked that it only took 5 minutes. So I guess they've given up. I don't know.
Smart move.
All right, folks, we have not given up, and you should not give up on us. If you think we're worth it, please become a member of Cordkillers and get some special perks and the satisfaction of supporting independent content directly at patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Heck yeah, man. Become one of our bosses. Give us what we like to call an infinite raise by going from $0 per episode to just $1 an episode. That's cheaper than CBS All Access, for crying out loud. And we take you to infinitely more worlds than they do. That's right. Come at us, CBS. CBS stands for can't believe their S word. That's what I'm saying. Come at us. Why don't you be our boss over at patreon.com/Cordkillers.
I have to disclose that I still have CBS stock from when I worked at CNET. But, okay.
I can't believe that stock.
Can't believe stock. That's the S word. Hey, another S word is summer, and the summer movie draft is coming March 5th on Night Attack. The movie list is out on the subreddit. And the teams will be, Brian, who are the teams?
Here's who it's known for sure. It's going to be me and Justin on Team Night Attack. I assume you're going to be Team DTNS.
It's in the doc.
No.
Oh, it's all
I have
decided.
Team Sword and Laser.
Sword and
As
Laser.
I team up with Spider Belmont.
Did we? Oh my God! No, that's not fair. You're going to crush us. Do we have confirmation of our friends over at Ice Cream Social?
The doc has the list of the teams. We've got Sword and Laser. We have Team Frog Pants. We will have Team ICS. Team John Trekker will be joining us, and for the first time, Team Hammerson. It's Hammer Chamberlain and podcaster Joel G. Robertson from Forgotten Flicks.
That's going to be great.
Fantastic. So that is next Tuesday evening on this very Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Night Attack.
We should, just for the uninitiated, it's a summer movie draft. It's like fantasy football, only with movies. Trust me. It's worth it. Even though you're only watching us play, it's worth it because you get to participate. You get to decide who overbid for stuff, who underbid for stuff, and you get to play in the fan league at home. And if you're the smartest of all of them, then you get to be the big winner out of thousands of competitors.
And throughout the movie draft period, we'll be checking in on the standings on Spoilerin time, which you can also get at cordkillers.com or patreon.com/cordkillers. All right, let's talk about how to watch. One way people watch a lot of stuff is Netflix. And yesterday, the Academy Awards were given out. And I just want to, before we get into what actually happened, Brian, do you remember Cordkillers 2014, where we were like, wow, Netflix got nominated for an Oscar? Or Cordkillers 2017, when we're like, hey, Netflix finally won an Oscar this year. Cordkillers 2019 is like, well, okay, so Netflix took home 4 Oscars, but they didn't win Best Picture. So what do we think of that, huh?
Well, I do feel like it merits pointing out how rare is it for a foreign language film to win Best Picture?
It's never happened.
Well, okay, that's pretty rare. The one thing I could think of that got close was Life is Beautiful, but I guess that was Best Foreign Language Film, right?
Yeah, I guess what we're talking about is Roma, in case people don't know, a Netflix movie, won for Best Cinematography, Best Director, Best Foreign Language Film, because the movie is in Spanish, and was up for Best Picture. And a lot of people had expected it to win. And when it didn't, Green Book was the movie that won. People started speculating, well, is it because it's foreign language? Is it because it's Netflix? And a lot of the industry that's out there doesn't really love the fact that Netflix doesn't give exclusivity to theaters, even though they did give a 2-week exclusivity to Roma in theaters, which is unusual for them. But really, I mean, Netflix won 3 Oscars for Roma and also won Best Short Documentary for Period End of Sentence. So they cleaned up when you compare them to streaming services. Hulu was the only other one that even got a nomination for Best Featured Documentary, Minding the Gap. That one didn't win. Free Solo won that category.
Tremendous all the way around. Man, it makes me feel like I have to watch Roma, and it's gonna feel like homework. It's gonna be like, okay, and now I feel bad today.
I think it's interesting to me because, I think we've mentioned this several times on this show and others on how Netflix is so indispensable, on how it's like the must-have streaming service, right? Even though they raised their rates to, I don't know, was it like $11 a month or whatever it is? I don't remember what the package is now. So like it almost seems as if like they could raise it a couple more dollars and it probably will still be okay, because they're trying to make themselves so essential, so indispensable, and getting these awards and these accolades are definitely a persuading point, I think. Like the only way to watch it is to get it up.
Netflix apparently, according to these reports, spent more money marketing Netflix's Roma to win an Academy Award than they spent on the movie. They just
That's
really,
crazy.
really, really wanted to win Oscars, and they did. The movie won 3 Oscars, right? Just not Best Picture. Also, of interest, things that we talk about on the show quite often. Black Panther was the first superhero movie nominated for Best Picture, and it did not win Best Picture either, but it won awards for Best Costume Design, Best Production Design, and Best Original Score. It was the first Oscars ever for a Marvel movie, so a milestone for Marvel. And Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse won for Best Animated Feature. And I don't think anyone doubted that it would, but a lot of people were arguing that it should have gotten nominations in Best Picture category itself. Now, Nicole, have you seen Roma?
No, I haven't seen Roma. I think like Brian, maybe I feel like I need to watch it now. But I haven't seen a lot of these movies.
Have you seen Black Panther and Spider-Man? I think you were.
I have seen Black Panther and I have seen Spider-Man, Spider-Verse, and well, I guess we might get into it later in the what we're watching thing. But Spider-Verse, I absolutely agree, should have been best, just everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's really interesting. I do feel like getting not just Roma, but the fact that Period of End of Sentence was on there. Bella Buster Scruggs is a really good movie as well. The more the merrier, I think.
Yeah, and I think this. The reason I set it up this way is, getting nominated was a big deal for a streaming service. Netflix is no longer considering itself a streaming service. They withdrew from the Internet Association. They're joining the Motion Picture Association. Netflix wants to be considered a studio, just like Disney, just like Sony, just like Warner Brothers, Universal, etc. And this is what a studio lineup looks like. You have several nominations, you win some Oscars, you lose some, and so it's sort of, to me, I think this is the milestone we're celebrating for Netflix at this Oscars. Is Netflix, congratulations, you're no longer an internet startup, you're a Hollywood movie company, you're a Hollywood production company.
I think that's a big step. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do we think we're seeing like a permanent meeting of the minds in terms of like, okay, there'll always be a theatrical release for anything we're serious about, just a couple of weeks, the window is going to be very, very short, we're just going to pretend to play your game? Because we saw them fight down in Mexico where it's like, no, we're not giving you, 30, 60, 90 days of exclusivity.
Right.
But here in America, we seem to have kind of met in the middle. Do you think that's what it's going to be for all their serious entries?
Yes and no. They gave a 15-day exclusivity window in the United States. In Mexico, they just didn't. A lot of the theater chains were saying that's not enough. Here in the United States, all of the major theater chains also said that's not enough and did not carry Roma. So I don't think that battle is over. I am very interested to see where that battle goes in the next year, given that Netflix is no longer Silicon Valley Netflix coming in to disrupt the world. Netflix is, I'm a member of the Motion Picture Association of America. Yeah. Our film won 3 Oscars last year. Let's talk. Let's figure this out, y'all. We're all in the same industry now. I'm curious if that changes this conversation.
We were chatting just a little bit over at the Weird Things podcast about the thinking of as Andrew Vane jokingly called it, the snubbing of his favorite Marvel movie of last year, Infinity War. And I think very clearly it's a case where Disney is picking, like, this year we're going to push this movie. We've got Endgame, it'll be sort of like the last of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Yeah, I don't know if we've talked about it on this show, but there really does seem to be a New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi trilogy kind of happening between Thor Ragnarok, Infinity War, and then Endgame. So it feels like they're intentionally holding back so that they could get proper joy for Endgame when it comes out next year, you think?
Also, it's really hard to get a superhero movie nominated. Black Panther is the first one, right? For Best Picture anyway.
Right.
It's easy to get him nominated for visual effects, which Infinity War was nominated for. So if Marvel's going to make a push this year, it makes sense for them to make a push for Black Panther because the Academy was receptive to that. And I think Infinity War feels like half a movie. That was my only criticism really of it, is like, I just wanted to see the end of the story. And so with Endgame, you can make that like, here it is. And Lord of the Rings, like you said, it was the Return of the King, right? The last of the 3 that got the Academy's love. And I feel like, yeah, you could definitely get some more reception for, and the story's now finished.
Keep in mind
so I
also
think that'll help.
that at some deep level, when next year at the Oscars they're pushing Endgame, it really will be a not so much about the movie, but about like the 10, 11 year, 12 year achievement that they did, the unprecedented level of storytelling that will come to, this phase will come to a head at that one movie. So it does make sense that they would hold back on promoting everybody to go nuts for Infinity War.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about what to watch in Under Surveillance.
Not like real estate. It's all about location. Under surveillance.
Because of the U.S. holiday last year, we've got a few more things in this section than we might normally. The second half of season 5 of Arrested Development arrives on Netflix March 15th. That's just less than a year from the first half of the season, which came out May 29th, which just call it 2 seasons, whatever. They could be short, but okay. Anybody excited?
I'm excited to buy a new monitor after I hate punched this monitor halfway through watching the second half. I haven't even finished the first half yet. I'm literally, if you told me, hey, Brian, in the future, the thing you love so much will be back, only, and it'll be pretty good at first, but then turn into a decayed zombie form of itself, and you'll actually hate it and yet be unable to stop watching it, I'd say, sounds like Hollywood.
So that's a no from Brian.
You're saying you don't like it then?
I'm saying I will watch it and hate watch it.
You'll hate watch it.
I will watch its desiccated animated corpse shamble around almost as if it's still alive.
I feel like this is a stark contrast from our talk only a few weeks ago about remakes and reboots and revivals and stuff.
Yeah. You know what? I would love to see it rebooted with a different cast and different director and different everything.
And different name.
Also, maybe not even as a comedy.
That sounds like a Twilight Zone episode. A new full trailer is out for CBS All Access's Twilight Zone episodes. That starts on CBS All Access April 1st.
So, how optimistic are you of how much magic being caught in this?
Nicole?
So, based on what I've seen on Weird City, which I might talk about later on in what we're watching, Weird City is Jordan Peele's very Twilight Zone-esque, Black Mirror-esque project on YouTube Premium. And if it's anything like that, I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be very mind effing. So I think it'll be interesting.
A lot of actors I like in this trailer, so that makes me hopeful too. The 6-episode series Good Omens, which is based on a book by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett, will arrive on Amazon's Prime Video May 31st. I love this book, and it's got David Tennant in it, so I'm excited.
Should I hold off on reading the book to watch this first? Would that be fun?
Yes.
Okay.
I say that because I know you subscribe to that as a more enjoyable format, and this book is really enjoyable, and I don't see that it would become less enjoyable in any way by watching the TV show first.
Right on.
Series telling news stories based on the book Green Eggs and Ham. Yes, Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Ham. From executive producer Ellen DeGeneres. Will star Adam Devine as Sam, Michael Douglas as Guy, along with voices from Diane Keaton, Ilana Glazer, Eddie Izzard, Jeffrey Wright, Gillian Bell, John Turturro, Tracy Morgan, Daveed Diggs, Keegan-Michael Key, and more, and arrives this autumn on Netflix.
Nicole, are you excited?
Okay, how many episodes are in this TV series about a children's book?
They're new adventures.
Is it like 10 episodes? Or then are they all new?
Yeah,
if they're all new, then it's okay.
They're not retelling the book. They're telling a new story. It will follow Sam I Am and Guy I Am as they try to rescue a rare chickaree from a zoo.
Okay. What's funny is I was really on board until I heard your last sentence. Because at the core of it, Green Eggs and Ham is a fundamental truth that children need to discover, which is trying new things can be scary, but sometimes deeply rewarding, and encouraging people and being persistent sometimes pays off, right? My guess is you could come up with 10 archetypal narratives along that line to come up with, but I don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch them figure out, solve problems and, Game of Thrones their way to get the whatever, that seems weird.
Mm-hmm. This is for kids. That's what
Wait, no. It could be good. It could be for kids and very, very good.
It could be. I don't think it will.
I mean, the talent is great. The fact that they have Eddie Izzard and Keegan-Michael, I mean, the talent is great.
Yeah, for sure. And then finally, in the trailer world, the BBC released a trailer for the series His Dark Materials, based on the series of the same name by Philip Pullman, the books by Philip Pullman. This series is coming to HBO in the US, BBC in the UK.
So this was supposed to be a trilogy that was going to blow up here in America, and we got as far as the Golden Compass. That didn't. The
movie.
Yeah, the movie.
The movie, The Golden
was
Compass,
not well received, but this seems like a chance for a second bite at the apple that could be very, very good.
Yeah, I think this is a new Apple too. The trailer looks much more promising. Looks more like I would have imagined this to me.
Cool.
Amazon Studios head Jennifer Salk wants to debut 30 movies a year from Amazon Studios. Some of them will go to theaters in the 90-day window. Some will have limited windows. Some will go straight to Prime Video. She also told Deadline that the Lord of the Rings TV series that Prime Video is working on has the windows taped closed to the writer's room, a guard outside, and requires special security clearance, including a fingerprint scan, to enter.
All right. How much of that is sensible practices given the amount they've paid and given the environment that we're in, and how much is just a little bit of P.T. Barnum to make it just to maybe get a little bit of free press?
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of information that you would get maybe like after the show's out, not like before. I mean, it just seems
not from
a little
the studio
bit too,
head, right?
Yeah, like from the studio head.
But again, if you do say all that, there's some level of it that's like, we dare you to try to find out. We dare you to try to peek in these windows.
Yeah. There's a little Roger Corman, right? Like, no one will be seated during the amazing, heart-stopping scene.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
We had to hire a security guard because this is so good.
I think that if I was going to guess, somebody proposed, hey, look, we've got people putting on fake uniforms, pretending to come in for deliveries. Can we just do something? And it's like, it's only $30,000 a year to get a part-time security guard. Great. Well, it's like, well, if I'm going to spend 30, 40, 50, however many $1,000, it's like, I'm going to double down and press that button real loud in public and get at least that much money in free publicity.
Transfer that guy out of Sector 7G down to.
That's right.
Amazon has approved a 10-episode series based on Naomi Alderman's novel, The Power. That's a novel in which women on Earth suddenly get the ability to electrocute people by touching them.
Right on.
And hilarity ensues.
Or charge batteries, maybe?
I mean, obviously, like, I have not read the book, but based on the summaries, there's the attempt to cure women of this power. There's sort of, trying to quarantine them so that they can't hurt people. And then there's, people breaking out and taking power because of the fear of this electrocution. And so you have multiple characters representing different approaches to dealing with this newfound power. And it's going to be a Prime Video series.
Cool.
Nicole? Yeah.
I have no feeling one way or the other. I mean, that sounds cool. I'll watch maybe the first few episodes or so.
Yeah. A lot of people comparing it to Handmaid's Tale in tone.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Sure.
Netflix has ordered a new animated Transformers series called War for Cybertron that explores the Autobots' homeworld. That's expected to arrive in 2020.
I don't know if you skipped over. My favorite part of the story is that it's going to be done by the folks over at Rooster Teeth right here in Austin, Texas. Yeah, so they're talking about a different animation style. If you watched Bumblebee, the best part was the first 15 minutes. Yeah. So getting a chance to go back into that, hopefully, retro canonical world, I think would be pretty great.
The Wandering Earth is a movie that is the second biggest Chinese film release ever, earning $600 million since it came out near the beginning of this month. In it, Earth must be moved away from the sun before the sun expands. But as they're moving it, it almost falls into Jupiter because the transport engines failed. Now, before you scoff at that and say, what is this, Space 1999? It's based on a novelette by Cixin Liu, who wrote the Hugo Award-winning Three Body Problem. He gets his physics right in that book. So I assume, as crazy as this sounds, the novelette at least probably got the physics right in this. And I don't know if it translated to the movie or not. Netflix, however, has obtained the rights for North America, Australia, New Zealand, and Korea for this movie.
Yeah, classic Chinese thinking. Thinking so small, just moving the world around. No, this sounds fantastic.
CBS All Access has cast Lucy Liu to star in a dramedy from the creators of Desperate Housewives called Why Women Kill. It will revolve around 3 stories of 3 women dealing with infidelity across 3 decades. So this is us with angry housewives, maybe. I don't know.
This is us, Angry Housewives edition.
Yeah.
Is this based on like? I mean, it will be. I mean, I'm sure it's gonna be. I don't really know what the stories are, but it would be interesting if they mixed in like some historical.
Well, I think the idea is you've got a modern woman who's dealing with infidelity. You've got a woman maybe from, I don't know, the 80s, and then a woman from the 60s. I mean, I don't have the decades right. Okay. I'm not saying that's it, but that's my impression from reading this is like, oh, you're going to have these women in different eras with different societal norms dealing with infidelity and how angry they get about it. And maybe some of them show up in each other's storylines at different ages, which is what This Is Us does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, that's coming to CBS All Access. All right. We got some good news. The Haunting of Hill House will get a 2nd season. They're going to do an anthology approach. So season 2 will not be at Hill House. Season 2 will be called The Haunting of Bly Manor and will be based on Henry James' novel The Turn of the Screw, although it may feature some Hill House cast members.
Man, it makes me wish I'd watched the first Hill House.
Well, you still
I haven't watched Hill House, but I read the book, which I guess is weird for me.
They're not related hardly in any way.
I know they're not.
Names. Yeah. And Amazon released a trailer for season 4 of The Man in the High Castle, which it says in the trailer will be its final season. They're going to bring the story to an end, which I know this is a cancellation in effect, but I call this good news. Like, oh, good. They have an end to this story and it won't just string it out forever to capitalize on it. I think that's great.
There was a headline that made me angry when I read it, but then the more of the article I read, the happier I got, which was like, just after its triumphant 3rd season, the headline read, The Good Place should announce when it's ending right now. And it drew parallels to Lost. And it says where we are right now is right when people really started to pull away from Lost. And Lost didn't recover until they announced there will be exactly 4 more seasons and then it's over. And then that's what got everybody back into Lost. And so likewise, I think announcing beginning with the ending in mind, not necessarily the worst idea you would think of.
Yeah. I agree with that. In fact, I agree with that regarding The Good Place too. Yep. I think that's smart. And then here's the bad news. If you work for these shows or wanted more of them, Netflix has let the last 2 shoes drop in its Marvel partnership, announcing, surprise, surprise, The Punisher and Jessica Jones will not get any more seasons on Netflix. Jessica Jones will be the last series to come to Netflix. It arrives later this year.
I don't know how I feel about it. Is this the end of a failed experiment or just the natural? Like, there was no way to make this work in a world where Disney was going to have the opportunity to do their own things. Was there? I don't think you have to say it's a failed experiment. It was several seasons of multiple shows that crossed over, and some of them worked and some of them didn't. And now Disney wants to do something else with their Marvel properties, and that's fine. Like, I just look at it as like, oh yeah, we had, I don't know, was it a decade, at least a half a decade of Marvel programming on Netflix? You know, we've had Marvel programming on other networks before, and now we're probably going to have it on Disney Plus. I think it was just 5 years. I don't know. I guess I was just hoping for so much more. I was hoping for the level of success that DC has enjoyed on television with the CW.
Animated. Yeah.
I was hoping
with like the Arrow and Supergirl.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I was hoping for them to somehow be able to offer their, Diet Coke to their Diet Pepsi or whatever.
Yeah. I think it got disrupted by the sea change in everybody else deciding they were going to do what Netflix was doing. I think Disney was all into this when they started it. And then as they moved through the years, they realized, we should really be making this stuff for our own. We're going to do, I think 5 years ago, they're like, we're not going to do a streaming service. That's a streaming thing. And now they realize, oh, you know what? We should definitely be doing a streaming service. So it's just a change in the landscape. Maybe this is a good thing. It's an indication that two companies are adapting to a change in the landscape instead of waiting for it to be too late.
You could say these two shows, whether or not they were successful, they were definitely a distraction, you could say, for Disney, who probably want to focus more attention to their own shows, like the Loki series or whatever it is that they're doing for Disney's own Marvel lineup.
Is S.H.I.E.L.D. still going? Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Okay.
No.
Well, at least that part's right with the world.
And then Sci-Fi canceled the series Night Flyers. Night Flyers showrunner Jeff Bueller told The Verge last year that he wanted to tackle other stories in the Thousand Worlds universe.
What property was this based on?
George R. R. Martin.
Okay, so okay, got it. We spent so much time talking about it, and then I never really heard.
We promoted it, so there was so much promotion.
I know
it.
that's what I'm saying. Is we talked about it a lot leading up to it, but once it came out, none of us watched it, and I never heard anybody buzzing about it. Yeah. So to hear that it's canceled was like, wait, it came out, and
yeah. I think it also got caught. I mean. It doesn't sound like they had a lot of faith in it because they just dumped all the episodes out at the end of December. But I think it also got caught in Sci-Fi trying to clean house and also adapt to this changing landscape and say, when we have a show, we need to own all the rights to it. That's what happened to The Expanse. It wasn't that The Expanse was a failure for Sci-Fi. Sci-Fi was like, we want to have it on our streaming platform. And instead, the contract says you get to air it, and then it goes to somebody else for the streaming platform. So I think everybody's doing this where they're like, let's just reorganize and make sure we get all the rights to stuff from the beginning of production.
Yeah. I would imagine. Right, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just going to ask what you had your eyes on lately, Nicole.
My eyes on. Well, I'll mention a couple of things I've been watching the past few months or so. And so I finally watched Into the Spider-Verse a few weeks ago, and kind of sad I didn't watch it sooner because it truly is. Not only do I think it's probably the best movie of 2018, with the caveat that I haven't watched every single movie in 2018, so I don't really know if it's the best movie. But based on what I've seen, I think it's the best movie of 2018, best animated for sure. I think it's possibly the best superhero movie. I know that's kind of controversial, but I think it is. I think it's the best superhero comic movie, if that makes sense.
It's certainly the best Spider-Man anything. Full stop. I can't think of it, and possibly including the comic books, like the best Spider-Man anything.
Yeah, I mean it's fantastic. Like everything about it is there's drama, there's comedy, there's exploring oneself, one's identity. There's also just like good slapstick stuff. There's also like it's a thriller. There's a mystery behind it. There's like family relationships between the father and the son. So there's so many dynamics here with like. The morality tale is really rich. The interdimensional stuff it's amazing. It's really well told. The fact that it treats the interdimensional thing, which I think can be kind of cheesy depending on how you approach it. It was just really well done, and I loved like the little comic elements with like the pig and all of those things. It was just really funny, but it wasn't just about the story. It was also about the way they told the story. Through text, through like the comic book stylings of like the comic effects. I guess I don't know how you want to describe it, but those were like really well done in a way that I don't think you could ever replicate that same feeling or that same sort of nuance and aura in a quote unquote traditional live action movie. Just because like the whole panel shifting, the different words put on the screen, like that added to it so much more than I think CGI could. I mean, that's just my theory, perhaps, but it really evokes the feel of superheroes and comics, and makes me honestly, like directly after that movie, I was like, what's a good comic book for me to read right now? Because it really made me fall in love with comic books as an art form again. It was just really well done, like from top to bottom. It was great.
Absolutely. Now I know you mentioned Weird City earlier too, but I think that's another one you've been watching.
Yeah, so Weird City, and I didn't even know this existed until a few weeks ago. But there's it's a series on YouTube Premium, and it's produced by Jordan Peele. As I mentioned, it's kind of like a Black Mirror, Twilight Zone kind of story, and it's like each individual episode is a self-contained episode, and it's a fictional world of above the line and below the line. So above the line are like the well-to-do folks, and below the line are like the criminals, the underbelly of this world. And the interesting thing with Weird City is that it's kind of like Twilight Zone and Black Mirror, but it's funny. So it's like this weird, messed up world of what is going on in this crazy universe, but it's like has a comedic element to it. It's like really twisted, dark humor, which is very in line with Jordan Peele's work, if you know of his work. So I like it a lot. You have to watch it. It's really short too, short, 20 minutes or so. It's like really quick to consume. So if you have a YouTube subscription already, just like watch it in like a day, and it's great.
Brian, what have you had your eyes on?
Dude, I went and saw How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, and I saw it twice. I had nothing going on Friday morning, so I took my daughter and ran and watched it, and Bonnie was like, what about the other kids? I was like, I'll watch it again, and I had no regrets watching it again. The action was a little bit rubberier and more slapsticky than in the previous ones, especially like after watching it. I went back and watched the first and the second one with the kids, and they do some really tight action sequences in the first one. Second one is much more character driven, but you can't beat it for the feels. I mean, it definitely sticks the landing and was really good. Also, on Justin Robert Young's recommendation, I don't know if I mentioned this 2 weeks ago, but I started watching Larry Charles's Dangerous World of Comedy, which is a documentary series about what does comedy look like in people who have nothing to be happy about. And he goes to Iraq and Somalia and war-torn areas, and he goes and listens to female comedians in Saudi Arabia. It's freaking heartbreaking at times. It's for something that's about comedy, it's horrific and eye-opening, and I think truly important, capital I important, if you are interested in the world of comedy.
And where you were watching this?
That's on Netflix.
Netflix. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Also on Netflix, I want to mention watching Haunting of Hill House. Eileen and I watched it on a trade. We were talking to our friend Hakito about TV shows, and we mentioned the comic book based show W out of Korea. And he said, well, I'll watch that if you watch Haunting of Hill House, which Eileen doesn't like scary stuff. She doesn't like watching horror. So the stipulation was she would watch it as long as we only watched it while the sun was up. Ha! And we blazed through it in a day and a half. We watched most of it on Saturday and then the rest of it on Sunday last weekend on the President's Day, long President's Day weekend, thinking we would probably need all weekend to get through it. It's great. Has almost no relation to the book. If you know the book and you're looking for that book, you'll be disappointed. This story isn't anything like that, but it's got some great beats, a great mystery, some good jump scares, good effects, good acting. I think it's enjoyable, and it just really fed us into wanting to watch the next episode every time to figure out what is going on in this house. It's supernatural. It's not science fiction, but it has its own internal logic that it sticks to for the most part, and I enjoyed it.
Cool.
All right, Bryce, what are you on the lookout for?
Hey, we got a kids-minded recommendation in our email. Listener Jesse says, good day, Cordkillers crew. Brian has continuously sung the praises of Netflix's kid series Cupcake and Dino, even going as far as repeatedly infesting the audience with the earworm of a little song, of the title song. Well, I see your Cupcake and Dino and raise you Amazon's original series, the Daytime Emmy Award winner, Little Big Awesome. This delightful show features their own duo, Gluco and Lennon, and has their own snappy intro. The twosome don't have jobs per se, but generally try to help the citizens of Townopolis in a variety of hilarious ways, shapes, and forms. The show is exceptionally charming IMO and is one of the few I will happily watch with my twin preschoolers intermittently stopping to enjoy in between play sessions. If that's not enough to grab you, frequent cameos by Weird Al Yankovic as Mr. Sun and Amy Mann as the Moon will do the trick. Thank you and love the show, Jesse, aka hometown rival. P.S. Cupcake and Dino is pretty good too. Hey, thank you so much. 13 half-hour episodes are streaming now for subscribers of Amazon Prime Video.
Right on.
Hey, folks, if you got something we should be on the lookout for, too, email us, cordkillers@gmail.com. Let's take a moment, though, Brian, to tell folks what we're going to be up to in a couple of weeks.
Oh, when you say we, I assume you and me and also Bryce. Nicole, you're also invited. But I know what all of us are going to be doing. On March 9th at South by Southwest, we're going to be hosting our, 5th annual South by So Wasted for the first time, trying to make it a real live comedy podcast and music festival. We have rented a legit venue right in the middle of downtown. There's only room for 150 of you guys if we're going to have seats. After that, we have to take out the seats. So you have to stand there like a rock concert. So we got like 50 tickets left that we're trying to sell. Night Attack live, Ice Cream Social live, the Possum Posse live, Dual Core live, special guest appearances from Andrew Heaton, Willie Dills Gregory. We're going to have, and of course, the internet's own Tom Merritt, going to be sharing some stories that I assume you've never told in public before.
Quite possibly.
I don't think I'm supposed
told, and I will be involved.
If you could think of a storytelling game that we've ever played on the show, and imagine how normally the celebrities are the ones judging people, what if we turned it upside down and made the celebrities tell their story? It should be a really fun show. 3 hours plus pre-show, so you're going to want to get there right at doors at 2 o'clock. Do us a favor. Head on over to bit.ly/Night Attack Show, I think.
No, Night Attack Austin, lowercase.
Night Attack
all
Austin.
word.
Okay. Or podcastlink.com/Night Attack. That's probably the easiest way.
Sure.
Podcastlink.com/Night Attack. We're also doing, I think we have 2 slots left. If you want to get in on our VIP hangover the following morning, we're going to be doing a secret special VIP tour of the new 7 Acre Schwood property, in which I will tell stories that we don't want told in public, but we'll share with you guys. It's going to be really great. Following that, we'll have food and a live show with Ice Cream Social, and I don't think we've tipped this yet, but we're going to be joining our friends over at the Whiskey Vault, Whiskey Tribe, at their distillery.
So, folks, get in on it. Don't wait. Let's move on to the front lines.
Frontlines!
Roku says it expects to have more than $1 billion in revenue this year. Roku raised its revenue and earnings in Q4 over the same period last year and beat analyst expectations. So Roku's killing it these days. CEO Anthony Wood says the company wants to power every TV in the world. That is their goal. Roku added close to 8 million accounts in 2018 and has devices in more than 27 million households. And it's raising money on its hardware, but also on its ad sales, which it sells into its software and its Roku channel.
That is so remarkable to me. Nicole, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, did you think there was a chance that this is the position Roku would be in?
10 years ago, no. 5 years ago, maybe. I mean, I've been using Roku for years, so yeah, good to know.
Yeah, it seems like their real genius was realizing that they could do away with the box and just be the thing that powers the TV. Oh, I thought you actually throw it, yeah. Meanwhile, Spectrum is selling an internet-only TV package called Spectrum TV Essentials to its internet customers. It has more than 60 channels and costs $15 a month. It works with the Spectrum app on Roku, Apple TV, Xbox One, Amazon Fire TV, and Samsung Smart TV, and on desktops. I gotta tell you, Tom, when you get down to $15 for the Essentials for like the grandma circuit, that almost sounds like maybe cable ain't so bad.
I mean, it's a bit of a rear guard action because they're only selling it to their existing internet subscribers. But if it's one of those people who's like, I'm canceling television and no, I'm not going to replace it. And you go, how about for $15?
Yeah. And all they have to say is for $15, imagine there's a tornado warning. That's the moment you want to turn on live and that you don't want to have to worry about your over-the-air antenna or whatever. Like for $15 a month, I don't know.
I already hear the email like, well, Brian, your internet will go out with the power, but your over the air might still work on your battery. Okay, whatever. You know, Brian, what Brian's saying is you might watch your local channel still. Okay.
Right.
It's important for news. Sports-oriented streaming service Fubo TV has added Viacom channels to its lineup alongside CBS, AMC, NBC, FX, and more, which it already had in addition to all of its international sports and domestic sports. The base package will add Viacom's BET, CMT, Comedy Central, MTV, Nickelodeon, Nick Jr., the Paramount Network, TV Land, and VH1, with a bunch of other Viacom channels arriving on extra packages.
Okay, now I'm going to need you to help me on this one, Tom, because it says here, this is a story that is significant but likely to be misunderstood. the story is Samsung is no longer bringing new models of its Blu-ray players to the U.S. This does mean that the market for Blu-ray players just got a little bit smaller in the U.S. It does not mean that you can't buy Blu-ray players in the U.S. or that Samsung has stopped making Blu-ray players at all. Tom, why would you think anyone would jump to those kind of conclusions?
Yeah. Because headlines said Samsung stops making Blu-ray players and, things like that. So, I just wanted to be clear. Like, it's not great news for Blu-ray fans.
Right.
Sure. You don't want to see a big company like Samsung say, hey, one of the biggest markets on earth, we're just not going to make Blu-ray players for that anymore. But it's not the end of Blu-ray, at least not yet. Nicole, if you had to gamble, how much time do you think Blu-ray has left?
Oh, if I would gamble? Let's say 5 years. 5
years. Yeah. I think it'll be a little longer. I think it's got a longer tail, but I think in 5 years for sure we'll be talking about when it's going to finally fizzle out. Researchers from the University of Houston and Western University used the period of time in 2014 when the Pirate Bay went down as a control. This is genius. They wanted to study what effect the Pirate Bay being down had on movie ticket sales. So they compared how did piracy when it was totally working with the Pirate Bay affect ticket sales? And then when that large source of piracy went away, how did that affect ticket sales? The research found that unauthorized copies of movies released before a theater premiere had a negative effect on ticket sales. So if it leaked out ahead of time, ticket sales tended to go down, while unauthorized copies released after a premiere in a theater actually had a positive effect on ticket sales. It caused a little more sales for movie theater tickets if that movie was already out.
So I would be so curious to know what versions are being leaked at what times. For example, there was the whole one of the Wolverine movies, the version that leaked online before release had incomplete effects. And it definitely, like, you looked at it, you're like, this movie looks like garbage. And like, yeah, dummy, because it's not done. Whereas, stuff shortly after release, I would imagine a lot of them are telesyncs where people are just, sneaking in camcorders and hold them up to grab footage.
Or screeners, screener copies that have been ripped somehow.
Sure. But at that point, you know what the buzz is about and you get enough into it to realize, yeah, you know what? I really should watch this in the theater. I don't feel like I'm going to be gypped if I experience this.
Yeah. And I think it takes away from different audiences. There's the audience who are like, I want to see it as soon as possible. And when it leaks out ahead of time, they've seen it on their computer. They don't need to go. Whereas if they're like, I have to see it as soon as possible and it hasn't been leaked, they go to the theater and get in line and buy it. And if it leaks out after that, they're like, well, I'm not gonna pirate it now. Or if I do, it's just to see it again because I'm such a big fan.
Yeah. Sources tell CNBC that Apple is aiming to launch its TV service. It's going to be great, Tom. This April or early May, Stars, CBS, including Showtime and Viacom, are expected to offer subscriptions through Apple's TV app. HBO is in talks but isn't on board yet. And Netflix and Hulu are not expected to join.
I just wanted to hear you say it.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be great. Yeah, can't wait.
Over a decade, excited? Tom. It's been over a decade now.
Practically, right? It feels like it.
I think the one sentence that had everybody just like forehead slapping was the sentence, Netflix and Hulu are not expected to join. Like, that's like the one, like,
I mean, luckily they'll have standalone greats like Planet of the Apps to lure us.
Yeah. Carpool karaoke, right?
I will save all my comments till this is a real product from now on.
Okay, good.
Let's move on to our dispatches from the front. Will in Davie, Florida wrote, I have a 2-year-old, and with my wife, who is a native Spanish-speaking mother, we make sure content we watch is always in Spanish. As I am, in Will's words, muy gringo, and want nothing more than for our daughter to know the language like mom, this also helps in my study of the Spanish language too. My question is, of all the over-the-top services out there, do any support the SAP function for Spanish language audio? We're a big Disney Junior family right now and would love to find the service that supports this this over the top. Really looking to cut the cord, and this is really the only thing holding me back. I don't know. This is a great one to throw out to the audience if you're using SAP on streaming services. I mean, I can answer generally like, yes, I have seen SAP audio available, I think in PlayStation View, on some channels, but I don't know how widespread it is. I don't know how frequent it is. And I also don't know if Disney Junior is able to do it. Cordkillers@gmail.com. If you have answers to that, you're actually experienced in this. But I would also add that you could take your current service and log into the Disney app and see if the app has the SAP option in it. And that might help give you a clue down the road, because you could then get PlayStation View and log into the Disney app with your PlayStation View credentials and get the SAP that way.
Yeah, I think you'll find that the on-demand world is very, very different from the live world when it comes to that kind of stuff. And in fact, it might be that you're a candidate to do the Brian method of cancel everything and just buy whatever you want the moment you want it, and then wait until that budget exceeds what you were spending on live content, because I know that the vast majority of everything I buy, whether it's on Amazon or watching it on Netflix or you name it, tends to have a Spanish language version available.
Cool. Good to know.
You want to take this next one? This is a big one.
Yeah, sure. Kyle from Florida says, we've been seeing a trend of channels delivering their content through apps, and not just from cable channels, but various content delivery service. This is nice. I can install an app on my device for a specific channel if I want a certain show. While it does get a little annoying that I have to download multiple apps, each with a different, sometimes frustrating interface to watch a handful of shows, one of the things I've never heard anyone talk about is the state of ads on these platforms. And he goes on to complain about how the ads work on these individual apps. You get the same ad multiple times, sometimes twice in a row. I think one of the benefits of ads on these platforms is a lot of times if there isn't an ad, certain apps will just skip them, but some don't. Some fill them with a bunch of promos that are repetitive for shows on the network. I would say, Kyle, that my solution to this has been Hulu commercial free, because a lot of the stuff you get through these apps is also available on Hulu. And if you pay for the commercial-free version of Hulu, then you don't have to deal with any ads at all. But yeah, on these individual channel apps that you log in with your cable authentication, man, the ads are sometimes a nightmare for sure.
I'll tell you what, though, it's an interesting take, because you don't normally think in terms of the quality of the production and storytelling of ads. Now, there is one place we all think of it when it comes to the Super Bowl. We wouldn't want to watch the Super Bowl without the ads. But if you create a rich enough advertising ecosystem where you're telling, narratives about Snickers bars or whatever, that you might find a segment of the population like not interested in paying $6 to have no ads, because it's like, well, everybody keeps talking about these so-and-so ads and I don't know what they're talking about. I want to know what everybody else is talking about. But it's poor implementation, it sounds, is like what we're dealing with.
Yeah, I have actually no problem with ads on like regular TV, just because it's a different ad usually every time. They're short enough. I mean, I would rather not have them, but I have no like overarching problem with them. But I do have problems with the ads that this emailer is talking about like 5 ads in a row, and they're all the same thing, and they're all like really bad, and it's just like it makes me want to like throw things at my TV. And I would completely pay for the no commercial version every single time. The Hulu no ads, totally. CBS All Access no ads, I'll pay for it, just because I hate having to like sit through all of those ads, like the back-to-back same ads all the time, really horrible ads. And I can't stand them. I just hate them.
I'll be honest, the longer any of these properties have been around, the better they get at this. So what's happening is a lot of these channels are operating these apps themselves, and they just haven't figured out how to solve this problem yet. And maybe the advertising money coming in through that channel isn't enough to prioritize it in their production line, which is why you're dealing with it. But the longer these are around, the better this gets. So there is hope for the future, I think. And with that, we say goodbye to Nicole Lee. Thanks for joining us, Nicole.
Bye.
Let folks know where they can find you online.
You can just go to twitter.com/Nicole. Thanks for having me.
Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We're live on twitch.tv/Night Attack, which is also carried on diamondclub.tv Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll see you again next time.
Hey guys, Brian and Tom here, and it's just the same old message. at the end of the credits, just like always.
That's right, Brian. Nothing new here except your name showing up.
Oh my gosh,
because
I've got a
you
name.
just supported us on Patreon.
Yeah, all those $5 donors, look at that. That's your name in pixels. We're gonna make you famous, kid. Put your
There's
name in
some
pixels on
classic
the internet.
names in there, but some of you are new. Some of you aren't there. It's sad. What can they do, Brian?
I mean, they could go to patreon.com/Cordkillers and pledge $5 an episode and be one of these amazing people, like this one.
Amazing.
Oh, look at that name right there.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.